What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back into the Rubber Match. As always, I'm your host, Evan Kamiko. Thanks for rocking with me. Thanks for hanging out with me. It's another fun week of Arkansas baseball and softball. We'll break everything down. We've got special guests joining as we always do. It's Dudley Dawson from Hogville.net. He'll jump on in just a little bit as we talk softball at the SEC tournament and baseball with a big ranked matchup on the road at Alex Box Stadium against the LSU Tigers, the third ranked LSU Tigers, I should say. So another great weekend of baseball and softball. We basically have an instant reaction coming up from Dudley on Arkansas softball being able to get the job done and get the win against Tennessee in the SEC quarterfinals. They'll move on and face Oklahoma. We'll break all that down coming up in just a minute. But also on the baseball side, like I already mentioned, LSU, a big series this weekend. So we don't miss anything. We talk about everything because this is the Rubber Match, your go-to podcast from Pig Trail Nation on Arkansas baseball and softball. As we always do, as we always start, we'll start with our housekeeping stuff. All the stuff we keep you updated on, where we're tracking stats, we're tracking players, we're tracking everything. And let's start today with our Gabe Gackle K count, because since Arkansas put him in the bullpen, he has been spectacular. Really, that Saturday lineup of Gage Wood starting, Gabe Gackle coming in after, and Aiden Jimenez closing the game was solid for Arkansas, especially in the sweep against Texas. Gackle really only hit once or twice, nothing too major, but Arkansas again able to get the win. Gackle's K count up to 57. He seems to really find his groove, and I really like what Arkansas is doing on that Saturday. Do I think they necessarily needed to go that route to get the win? No, because the game was kind of out of reach, but again, you had to win the series, you had to beat Texas, and you had to move on. So the Gackle K count currently at 57 right now. Let's go to the Eloy Dingers count, because there was another home run from Vahiva and Cahillo this weekend. It was Cahillo to add to that total. It is now at 29, so that is where our K count stands for the Eloy brothers. The Bash brothers, I was able to talk to their high school coach over the weekend, and one of the things that was interesting that he said to me is that if you saw Cahillo and Vahiva when they were in high school, you would never know that this is what they would become. They were much different back then. Again, everybody is. You grow up, you get a little bit older, you fill out your body a little bit better, and Cahillo and Vahiva, really good examples of both of that. So Dinger count for the Bash brothers is at 29. And let's take a look up now at our field view. Here's what I'm thinking for this weekend as Dave Van Horn is going to do in this series against Texas. Against LSU. Last week, I was pretty accurate on it. Carson Bowles didn't make that start in right field because Logan Maxwell was down, but Maxwell, it seems that he'll be back this week. So here's what I think the lineup's going to be. You're going to start Reese Robinette at first base. That could be Rocco Pepe depending on matchup, but with Gabe Frazier, I have him slotted in here as second, but because this is my show, I can do whatever I want. Gabe Frazier, we don't know how he's doing with injury, so I'm going to put Cam Kojal there right now, because it seems that Kojal will be that second baseman. So I will rewrite that as this show is going on. You got Cam Kojal at second, Vahiva, Iredale, solidified, Zach Root, your starter, Ryder Helfrich behind the plate, Cahillo Eloy, your DH, and then your outfield, JTJ, Charles Davlon, center field, left field. Then I think Logan Maxwell, because I believe he'll be back with the hamstring injury. He will make the start in right field, or maybe at DH, and we'll see what happens. But Carson Bowles going to be very quick to get on there and to, maybe even make a start in game 2, just depending on how Maxwell's feeling pregame. So all that stuff, we'll find out more on that coming up. But without further ado, let's not waste any more time. We got immediate reactions as Dudley Dawson going to join the show, and we'll start with Arkansas softball. That's coming up right after the break. Stick around. We'll be right back on the Rubber Match. Dudley Dawson now joining the show for about as instant reaction as the Rubber Match can get. Dudley, it was 2 days, 2 big grand slams. Bree Ellis against Georgia yesterday, Reagan Kramer against Tennessee today. Overall, what are your thoughts so far? Arkansas 2-0 in the SEC tournament.
Well, obviously, I think this, if it hadn't already solidified them as one of the 8 national seeds, it definitely has now. And you got to feel happy for Reagan Kramer. She doesn't get as much credit as she should, but she knew right away that they didn't want any of Bree Ellis, and she knew she was going to get that first pitch and swung and hit it out of the park. Only her second home run this year, and only the fourth that Tennessee star pitcher Kaylee Pickens had given up. So what a moment for them these last 2 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Pickens was really rolling. Robin Heron as well. We'll talk about Heron in a second. But that was Reagan Kramer's second Grand Slam of her Arkansas career. First one came back in 2023 against Harvard in the NCAA Regional. And I'm curious for you, it felt like this game was really back and forth. And really, I thought till, Arkansas got a few lucky bounces their way in the top of the seventh, that game was going to probably go into extras because Tennessee had all the momentum. So how big was it for the Arkansas lineup to come back again and again like we've seen all season? They really started getting on this run by doing it early in games, but the last 2 days, it's been big swings in the late innings.
Yeah, that's they've got a lot of girls with clutch genes in them. They've really come up big, and you can't forget about Reagan Johnson jumping and taking away what probably would have been 2 runs, and that might have been the game. She's been great out there all year, and Kramer had a bird's eye view of it over there in left field. Just they've been really good. I mean, like the nation's #2 defense have gotten a star run from Bree Ellis, but it's been everybody up and down that lineup and the pitching that has been able to get them where they're at.
Yeah, I love that Reagan Kramer said after the game, she's like, I didn't know if Reagan Johnson was going to come down with that. She might have said jump a little bit too early, but what a play, what a moment, especially because that was really the turning point in the game to swing the momentum back to Arkansas' side. Being able to go and make that play and be able to keep those 2 runs probably would have been at least one. I think you do have a great point that the runner on first would have scored because that ball probably would have bounced back off the wall and back towards center field. But what a moment for the Arkansas defense there, especially when you look at the start of that inning. It was an error by Ella McDowell that got the bases and got Tennessee going in that 6th inning.
Yeah, and just as I said, they've made these type of plays all season since the Oklahoma series. What a game it's going to be tomorrow. Oklahoma, the preeminent college softball team, Arkansas trying to make its statement now. Obviously, #1 in the Softball America poll, anywhere from 6 and 7 in other polls. But it's going to be a fun game for them, and as I said, solidifies that they're going to have definitely the regional and probably the super regional now after this.
Again, we'll dive into that Oklahoma game in just a second, but I want to talk Robin Heron. She was terrific on the mound, really rolled until that 6th inning, 7 innings, so a complete game for her. 6 hits, 1 run, 9 strikeouts, and again, low pitch count. That was a theme yesterday where Robin only threw about 32 pitches. Peyton Burnham was around 60, and then again today, 90 pitches for Heron in the complete game. What impressed you about her performance?
Well, the fact that she just stays so calm and she hardly ever went to a 3-ball count. I think it was 3 times the whole day, and that's just amazing. That's Greg Maddox type stuff, from back in the day. She's just been incredible for them this year. Peyton Burnham has come in and done some great things as well. But you've had just everything that they need so far these 2 days. Come up there at the end, and even though Arkansas had some errors too, I kind of feel a little bit sorry for Carlin Pickens. She's now given up 44 runs, and 21 of them have been unearned.
Wow. That is a striking number. And again, you saw the last time Arkansas faced Carlin Pickens, it was kind of the same story where they were able to really take advantage of her, but this time it came late. Last time, again, like I said, it was early on in that Tennessee series. Now we look back to as here we are, Arkansas going to the SEC tournament semifinals, and that was the flipping point of this season where it's like, what's this Arkansas team going to be? They're 1-5, kind of staring down the barrel. You got to go to Tennessee. You got a road trip to Florida and Texas A&M as well. And now here you are, like you already mentioned, they're going to be a top 8 seed and play Oklahoma tomorrow. So let's get into that Oklahoma game tomorrow as we look ahead. What are you most excited about in this rematch? Because Oklahoma swept the season series earlier this year at Bogle Park. Now they get a chance to face each other yet again, this time in Athens, Georgia.
Well, I think you're measuring yourself against the gold standard, and you have the opportunity to not only get an 8 seed, but to bust it way up there. And anytime you can get a situation like that, you have put your mark on the softball program. Let's be honest, Courtney Deifel has brought this from the worst softball program in the SEC without any doubt. 1-23, I think, when she took over. And they are flying high right now. They've got a great recruiting class coming in again next year. They're going to lose some folks, obviously, but still going to keep it going. And, in that game tomorrow, it's going to be, pretty much you cannot make a mistake against Oklahoma. And the same way against Arkansas now, because they'll make you pay.
What does it mean that this Arkansas team is so hot right now? Let's look big picture as we kind of move forward. We'll talk a little bit about baseball coming up in just a second. But as we look ahead, right, like this Arkansas team, we've seen what's happened the last 2 years where it's lose the final game of the regular season. then lose the SEC tournament in the first round, then flail out in the NCAA regional. But this year it feels flipped, almost kind of like that 2022, 2021 years again, where they won the SEC tournament in 22. So what does it mean now here in 2025 that this team is playing as well as they were? Think about it this way, like Brie Ellis, well, she, as good as she is, best player in college softball. I'll continue to say that no matter where we are. She wasn't the main cog in the win today. It was the other factor. So what does it mean that this Arkansas team is clicking on all cylinders as we head to NCAA regionals and, again, the semifinals of the SEC tournament?
I think the biggest thing I see about this team right now is you've got some older veterans who know how it's ended the past 2 years. That's happened with the baseball team as well, and they want to go out in a great way. And certainly you've also got so many talented youngsters, pitchers, position players, ones who've just contributed right away. They don't know any better. All they've done is won on the softball summer circuit and while playing for USA softball. I mean, this is a team she's put together that has just the perfect mix of youngsters and veterans, talent and experience.
Yeah, I love that. Talent, experience, again. Ella McDowell, Cam Harrison, some people that we've seen who are on the younger side. Peyton Burnham, the great example of that. And then your experience. Courtney Ade has the most experience on this team. She was big yesterday. Did you like that Coach Steifel bumped her back up to hitting behind Brie Ellis?
Yeah, and the announcer kept calling for that yesterday, but Ella had been on a tear, and
Mm-hmm.
there's reasons coach do things, and I'm sure she studied and all that, but we all know what was going on there. Ella was getting big hits. Now you bump Courtney back up there, and it's just, I mean, it's lengthened the lineup. We thought they were going to be good hitting the ball earlier in the season, but up and down the lineup, there is not a single out you can count on right now, and that's not always been the case.
Absolutely, 1 through 9. And again, Reagan Kramer, not the most imposing person at all. Our Jacob Morris just did a great story on her as well, but she comes up with the big hit today and able to send Arkansas to the SEC tournament semifinals. At least she gave them the breathing room. That's, I think, the biggest thing because they had that 2-1 lead. But let's shift gears. Let's talk a little bit about baseball as Arkansas postseason still ramping up. Let's go to Alex Box, because that's where Arkansas baseball is. They take on LSU this weekend. What's key in this series for the Razorbacks to pick up and carry the momentum that they had last week in the sweep against Texas?
Well, just like Baumgartner Stadium, Alex Box is one of the meccas of college baseball, and you're going to find 13,000 to 14,000 fans there this weekend. They are in a position where they're hanging on to a national seed. They probably will end up getting one, but it's going to, depend on how they do these last two series, just like it is with Arkansas. Arkansas is getting a couple of teams who were really good to start the season, but now they are in a position that they can take advantage of them. It's going to be big if Zach Root, he doesn't have to give you 8 innings right away, but he has to give you some length. You can't have a 5-inning thing. If you can do that, then that second day, you now have a trio of pitchers that have come in and have molded together that you feel real confident in. And the third day, it's TBA, and we'll see what happens. That's Sunday in the SEC usually.
Absolutely. We'll get into that third day in a second, but I'm curious for you, Dudley, when you look at the Arkansas pitching staff, and especially with Zach Root, let's say he doesn't give you 8 innings again today, you don't have a monster lead, and it's maybe a closer game. Do you almost break up that Saturday rotation that DVH is using in Gage Wood, Gabe Gackel, and Aiden Jimenez and pitch one of those 3 in game 1? Should you have the lead? Should it be the right situation?
I think you certainly think about it. Will McIntyre has started to pitch better, ever since the Missouri State situation. And I think that, he's a veteran, been there. So you would probably go to him first. You've got some others there at the tail end of the bullpen that you're a little worried about, I think. So if you had to bring Aiden Jimenez on Friday night, I keep getting confused, Friday night, then, and you could bring him back on Sunday.
Yeah.
But so you've got the option there, but you would rather him give you the length, and maybe Colin Fisher is a guy who's kind of got lost here these last couple of weeks, and he's a guy that I still think is going to be a starter here down the line, and is going to be somebody that's great. So you've got the opportunity to use him, and hey, shout out to Dylan Carter, who has just come back and you just hand him the ball. He has the surgery, and now he's throwing as hard as he ever had. He's about to bust 100.
Carter's been pitching really well, which is fun to see, especially in game 3. But you're also going to get Parker Coyle back this week, which I think could be a very big factor for this Arkansas bullpen. He had a .6 or so ERA before he got hurt about a month ago, and now he comes back and gives you that extra depth you need. I'll be really curious on you to see what you think about Parker Coyle and adding him to the mix, because we saw him take steps every single year and getting better to now in the early start of this season, he was that shutdown guy for the Razorbacks out of the pen.
Well, I think he's almost is the most guy, the guy that Coach Matt Hobbs, the pitching coach, trusts the most right now. I mean, a 0.68 ERA, as you said, he's made 10 appearances and pitched 15 innings. So sometimes he's gone one inning. He's added a couple more, but he's just been devastating all year, gotten better. You could see it coming during the scrimmages. Yeah, he's a guy that we talked to with Coach Van Horn Monday. There's going to be no limitations on him. He's going into a high leverage situation right away. You're dancing around again with Hunter Dietz, who is one of the most gifted pitchers that has never spent a lot of time on the mound here at Arkansas. You hope he gets the opportunity to get in some this weekend. He's a fantastic pitcher when he's on the mound. He has been during the fall at times, but you feel bad for him. I mean, the guy takes a pitching strap off of the face that knocked him back for a couple of weeks. So, they're getting some arms ready, and it's perfect time.
And let's look on the other side, especially when it comes to the lineup. You're getting healthy on offense, and you're getting, or on at least pitching staff, and you're getting a little bit more healthy on offense as well right now. Logan Maxwell should be good to go. Curious, do you think there's going to be big lineup changes, or you think we'll see Carson Bowles and Reese Robinette make impact, at least in this upcoming series with LSU?
I don't see how you don't put Reese Robinette at first base, especially if you're facing a right-hander. I mean, I know it's a small sample size, but it's still 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. And obviously, we all know how tall he is, and that's a great thing to have over there at first base. There have been some situations defensively where it hasn't worked out with smaller first basemen. So I think you're going to see him plenty this weekend. Even if they don't start him, he'll come up in a high leverage pinch hitting situation. But now you can move Cam Kozel to second. While he's been decent at first base, he's a second baseman at heart.
Mm-hmm.
I think the defense gets better, and obviously, if Reese can hit like that, then you got a really good thing going there. I do think that the fact that Justin Thomas, he's kind of quietly gotten 8 home runs down there. He's become a guy that you thought was maybe a defensive player, was going to be in the lineup for his defense, but now he's down there for offense, and that's a great 9-1 thing they got going there. Charles Davil is just out of his mind, has gone from a bit player to really one of the top 60 prospects I saw the other day in this next major league draft.
And I love that you brought up quiet guys in the bottom of the order. I think Ryder Helfrich, he's around that 300 average, maybe 8 or 9 home runs as well. So you don't really think of the Arkansas bottom of the lineup to be able to do damage with the deep ball. But Justin Thomas Jr., big home run this week, and Ryder Helfrich has flashed a lot of power and has been able to get on base. So JTJ has been able to drive him in as well. And to your point, it's really interesting to see that dynamic with the bottom of the order. Let's look at LSU really quickly. What's going to be key for this LSU team if they want to get the best of the Hawks?
They have had a good pitching staff this year, but it's stumbling a little bit coming in here. If you can get at them early, get some, maybe the mindset going different, especially when you're behind the home crowd. And that's one of the things that Coach Van Horn and his staff love about Davil. He moves so much in the box. He takes so many pitches. He battles, gets you 10 to 12 pitches. I think that's why they like him at the top of the lineup. You have to get on them early. You can't let them get comfortable. You got to take the crowd out of it. But I believe what we saw this past weekend, Arkansas is going to be ready to show up and play with some urgency.
Yeah, they did a really nice job against Rugger Riojas on Thursday of last week. I was going to say Friday too, but this time you're facing Cade Anderson, one of the best pitchers in the SEC, as well as Anthony Janssen, who pitched really, really well against Texas A&M last week, even though LSU lost that series. Dudley, before we go, last thing I'll ask you about this Arkansas baseball team. Where do you right now, where's your confidence level with them between 0 and 10? How confident are you coming off that Texas sweep?
Well, I think they're a lot better. I'm not ready to leap and guarantee that they're going to get a national seed. I think you need to at least split these series, get 3 out of 6 at least to solidify that. That's not what you want. That shouldn't be the standard, but I think that's got to be the goal. You try to go get one on the road. You try to win them all, or at least 2 out of 3 here at home. Tennessee, as I said, sliding a little bit, but Tony Vitello and his crew is going to come in here and get fired up. So I would feel confident and more confident if they get half the wins the rest of the way in them getting a national seed. And I just think that's so important, regardless of how the last 2 years have gone.
Couldn't agree more. Dudley Dawson, thanks for the time. Thanks for joining the rubber match. We'll finish up after the break. Stick around. As always, a massive thanks to Dudley Dawson for joining the show. It's been a really fun episode of the Rubber Match, something we don't normally do with that live reaction segment. It's not really live, but you get my point. Instant reaction, live reaction, whatever. I'm spitballing. This show is off the top of my head. As always, thank you guys all for tuning in. I have so much fun every week bringing this podcast to you, and you can, again, watch it on our YouTube, our website, or our CTV app on wherever you can download it, 479 first, so be sure to check that out as well. Again, 2 really, really big series coming up this weekend for Arkansas baseball, and next weekend at LSU and then at Tennessee. And then softball, it's do or die time. They should, at least like Dudley say, be a top 8 seed with the win against Tennessee. But the game against Oklahoma is going to be very fun. Patty Gasso, DJ Gasso, round number 2. They met earlier this year here in Arkansas, like we already talked about, and it didn't go so well for the Hogs, but this is a completely new Hog team. We'll see what happens. That game is at 3 p.m. That is tomorrow, Friday, April 9th. It's May. Who am I kidding? May 9th at 3 p.m. Central Time. So a lot of fun, a lot of baseball, a lot of softball this weekend. We'll break all that down for you next week on another edition of the Rubber Match. I'm thinking it'll be more softball focused because we'll have a regional here in Fayetteville, Arkansas. So we'll have some fun next week on the Rubber Match. Maybe do a live show from Bogle Park. I'm not sure, maybe not live, but like in person and not me sitting here talking to a Zoom. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Rubber Match. As always, thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Evan Kamiko. We'll see you back here next week on the Rubber Match. Enjoy.